Bitbucket is better than ever. With code and CI/CD on the same cloud platform as Jira, AI isn't just a vibe. It's how developers break through the friction in their daily workflows and focus on the work that matters, with features that actually improve developer experience. Getting to the work shouldn't feel like more work. With Bitbucket pipelines, building, testing, and reviewing code is built into your workflow. Broken build slowing you down? AI tells you what's wrong and suggests a fix, so you can ship code faster. Long PR review cycles? Bitbucket gives you AI-powered suggestions for code changes and recommends human reviewers, so you can save time while improving quality and security. Deploying to production? Staying compliant is easy when you're on the Atlassian cloud platform. And with one more assist from AI, your work here is done. From planning to shipping, developers can find their flow and stay there with Bitbucket.
So that was a little Bitbucket TV for you. So hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm the head of product for Bitbucket, which today includes Bitbucket Cloud, Bitbucket Pipelines, and I'm happy to say in the last 2 weeks, Bitbucket Data Center. So I'm Mr. Bitbucket, something like that. Today, Raul and I are here to show you why we're convinced that we are on the cusp of a once-in-a-generation change in how developers get shit done on Atlassian. I cannot wait to show you. So over the next 40 minutes, we'll cover the following topics. We'll start with a history of Bitbucket, what we've been focusing on lately and where we're headed as a product. Then I'll take you through a day-in-a-life tour of 2 developers as they collaborate on the development of a feature using our new AI-powered Bitbucket. Then later, Raul will talk about Atlassian's own development journey, how we ourselves have standardized on Bitbucket Cloud and pipelines. And also talk a little bit about something really exciting, which is how we're up-leveling our CI/CD story with AI automation. So fasten your seatbelts, let's go. So before we get started, the necessary legalities. Please don't make any purchasing decisions based on what you see in the presentation today. Any release timing, any future functionality, let's try not to do that. OK, well, let's get started. Let's talk about Bitbucket past, present, and future. Just a show of hands, how many people have been using Bitbucket for longer than 5 years? Longer than 8 years? Longer than 10 years? OK. Raul. OK. Well, let's talk a little bit about basically the history, the timeline. So for the historians in the audience, Atlassian Bitbucket started with it basically 15 years ago, when in 2010 we acquired a company called Bitbucket Cloud, a hosted Mercurial service. Soon after, in 2011, we added Git services and later ended support for Mercurial. It was also, incidentally, the time when we first broke ground on Stash, which ultimately became Bitbucket Server. Fast forward to 2015, to meet the need for increasing enterprise scale, Atlassian released Bitbucket Data Center, which is the product that many of you guys enjoy today. Then in 2016, we launched our much-loved Bitbucket Pipelines product that brought easy-to-use CI/CD automation to cloud. Next, in 2019, Bitbucket Cloud reached 50,000 customers, and we knew at this point that we were onto something big. Fast forward to 2024, which was a very busy year. Atlassian standardized and migrated to Bitbucket Cloud, which incidentally, was something that has transformed the products. It turns out when Atlassians are using it, it really needs to scale. Raul will talk a little bit more about that. Bitbucket Pipelines hit 1 billion build minutes per month, which is a testament to that scale. We launched our first AI features based on OpenAI, and Raul will talk more about these events later in the talk. Which brings us to the present, when we recently unified Bitbucket Cloud and Data Center under a single product umbrella, setting out to become Atlassian's first hybrid cloud product for developers. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. So let's talk a little bit about the present. What are we focused on? So our first mission by far is to increase developer productivity in satisfying ways that reduce the time spent on toilsome tasks that can be automated and increase the time spent instead on innovation and actual software development. Our second mission is to develop and refine best-in-class integrations between Bitbucket Cloud and the rest of the Atlassian stack to keep developers in the flow. You shouldn't have to go elsewhere in order to get your work done, and to avoid costly and annoying context switching. And then our third big mission is to become ever more secure, compliant, performant, and reliable. We've worked hard to become a trusted cloud vendor with our customers, and Bitbucket Cloud is no exception. If you haven't noticed, Bitbucket Cloud has been on a feature roll lately. For developer productivity, we've delivered draft pull requests. We delivered a Jenkins migration tool, ARM builds in cloud, assisted PR reviews, aka the code reviewer, which I'll show you a little bit later. We added bigger CI/CD step sizes with more CPU and memory options. And we also added the pipeline step troubleshooter and deployment summarizer, both of which are powered by Rovo Dev AI. I'll show those off a little bit later too. For Better Together, we delivered the highly requested dark theme, making Bitbucket easier on the eyes and consistent with the rest of our products. For Enterprise Trust, we delivered enforced signed commits, custom merge checks, which let you write custom logic to gate pull request merges on Forge, dynamic pipelines, where we let you insert dynamic YAML configs based on customizable, standardizable logic executed at runtime, and we added external secret providers, where we let you integrate third-party secrets management. We're also working on a ton of value as you speak, some of which is actually available as of this week, and so I'll show some of that off to you. For developer productivity, we're working on Rovo Dev and pipelines, where you'll be able to automate CI/CD tasks using Atlassian AI, in-browser merge conflict resolution, so you don't have to break out of your flow to resolve merge conflicts, the GA release of our AI-assisted PR review tool, also known as Code Reviewer, the beta release of Rovo Chat in Bitbucket, which released just last week. I'll show that off to you. Pipelines merge queues we're working on to make enterprise merging simpler and more reliable. And last but not least, pipelines test management, which I'll also show you in a little bit. For Better Together, we're working on a new navigation experience that makes Bitbucket more consistent with our other products. So the look and feel and navigation will be consistent with Jira and Confluence. The demos that I'll show you in a little bit later are all based on that new navigation. We're working on a unified billing experience by bringing Bitbucket officially into the fold of our commerce infrastructure, so it'll feel more natural alongside of the rest of our products. And also, last but not least, we're working on Pipeline's Bitbucket data center compatibility, which is our first step towards hybrid. I'll talk a little bit more about that too. For Enterprise Trust, we're working on Docker imagery registry beta. So it's basically packages, so you can persist packages inside of pipelines, and the rest, it's actually the rest of Bitbucket. That just released in beta last week. We're working on sharding, where we're refactoring our architecture for reliability, which is a prerequisite to data residency. And last and certainly not least, we're working on data residency. A little bit more on data residency. I'm happy to report that we're on track for a 2026 delivery, as we stated on our public roadmap. With the sharding work fully underway, the project has moved from a promise to an active project, and a whole lot of Bitbucket developers are working on it. Our first official region will be the EU sometime next year. So hopefully that's good news for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about where we're heading next. As the head of product for Bitbucket, I'm often asked where we're going as a product line. So the first thing I want you guys to know, just to sort of address the elephant in the room, is that Bitbucket Data Center, I think a lot of people have relied on for years, and with the EOL of Jira and Confluence, the question has come up, what happens to Bitbucket Data Center? Well, to put it as simply as I can, there are no plans to EOL the Bitbucket Data Center product as a solution. We recognize that code is a unique asset, and that for many of you, it simply cannot be in public cloud. We broke Bitbucket Data Center off from the rest of the pack for this reason, and like I say, there are no plans to EOL it. Instead, I'm very excited to report that we're unifying Data Center and Cloud under a single, rather large team at Atlassian with one unified mission, and that is the shared customer base between the two, aka you. So this is really important to me as head of products. Do not think of this as like two broken off products that are fractured. Think of it as a whole where things will start to work together more and more. So a few details for data center customers. Actually, raise of hands. How many of you guys are Bitbucket Data Center customers in the room here today? Okay, about half. Well, so two important details. So the first is that in mid-2026, we will officially offer a new hybrid Bitbucket license that entitles existing data center customers to both data center and cloud for an attractive price. I can't tell you that price yet, but I think you're going to like it. The current Bitbucket data center only license will be phased out over the next 3 years, and we'll provide the details when we have them on exactly how that sorts out. Sadly, though, for some of you, Bamboo Data Center will be reaching end of sale over 3 years, alongside the other non-Bitbucket data center products. That said, Bitbucket Pipelines is here to pick up the slack and will, as I said before, be the first official hybrid Bitbucket feature that works across cloud and data center. And Raul right there has to deliver that. So speaking of hybrid capabilities, I'm often asked, what will we support between these two worlds? In other words, what features will overarch both cloud and data center? The one I know for sure right now is pipeline CI/CD, but we're also talking about potentially code search, code review, unified administration, maybe getting some AI down, unified billing, and then if you guys haven't heard about it, there's also an isolated cloud thread. So you might say, well, wait, why are you not telling me what you're actually going to build? Well, the open, crisp, no bullshit answer to that is that I don't know yet. As compelling as many of these features are, I'm only going to spend the time, working on that as opposed to other features if you can actually consume them. And so one of the things that I'm looking the most to doing, and actually there'll be a survey forthcoming most likely, is to get the input from you guys. Is hybridity actually of interest to you, or is it not going to make anything better than the isolation that you require on premises? It'll be questions like, can you hold on to repository data in cloud for less than 30 days for an EU regulation, as an example? So there's a lot of conversations and a lot of research that we need to do, but know that we are open-minded about this and are looking forward to talking to you about it. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about another huge part of where we're headed as a product. So in a nutshell, we've had 3 big revelations, I think, in the business, and certainly at Atlassian. The first revelation is that it's all about less toiling and more coding. Global developer interest in AI is rapidly evolving from code generation to automating toil reduction outside of code generation. So according to a February IDC survey, developers spend only 16% of their time coding and 84% on other things. Yet to date, most AI tools are focused on coding. So enter a survey that came in actually it was 36,000 developers from Stack Overflow. They were asked, what are you using AI today? Not surprisingly, a lot of it comes up coding and coding-related things. But then interestingly, they were asked, what are you going to use AI for next? And you see an inversion in what people are actually concentrating their AI efforts on. It clusters around non-coding activities like testing, learning about a code base, committing, reviewing, analytics, et cetera. So the TLDR is that developers are shifting from making it all about code to the other sorts of SDLC stuff. The second revelation is that toil reduction needs data. Most toilsome tasks require more than just a sense of the code base. In other words, knowing the code is not enough. Instead, they require a common data layer that connects and correlates entities across the SDLC. And that's where we come in as a company. And so I'm not going to spend much time on this because you guys have probably heard about it by now. But as a longtime developer, I am so excited about the Teamwork Graph. Nowhere else will you find such a comprehensive network of connected data, from the highest level goals to the in the trenches code and deployments. If I had to pick the secret sauce that Atlassian has, in the age of AI, this is definitely the top of the list. And if it isn't obvious, the data required to reduce toil needs a platform, a collection of apps that interoperate, store, and correlate data from concept to deployment. And in all honesty, Atlassian is really the only modern company with a platform broad enough to do this. Our competitors wish they had it. All right, now comes the fun part. Let's dive into how Bitbucket Cloud, combining our latest core features, Rovo Chat and Rovo Dev, is on the path to taking your development productivity to the next level. So to set the stage, we'll define the activities of 2 developers, Andrea, our code author, and Priya, our code reviewer. Andrea and Priya's journey will go through multiple steps as they collaborate on the development of a new feature. Andrea will grab a work item in Jira, write some code, get a pipeline running, create a pull request, pass it over to Priya for code review, then take it back again for final merge, build, test, publish, and deploy, and then wrap it all up in Jira. Along the way, I'll show you how we're leveraging AI to make many of these steps more efficient by automating time-consuming tasks so that Andrea and Priya can spend more time on what they do best, which is coding. So let's kick it off with Andrea, who starts it all off in Jira. Andrea begins by picking up a work item where her product manager is asking her to develop a new user profile dialog. To save time, Andrea asks Rovo Chat to summarize the project so she doesn't have to traipse through a bunch of Confluence pages and related Jira work items to understand what it's all about. Rovo Chat can do this because it's powered by the Teamwork Graph, which contains all of the related Atlassian data. Satisfied that she understands the project, Andrea then asks Rovo Chat for guidance on how to get started. Again, Rovo Chat answers based on the data contained in the work item and related artifacts. So it gives her a little bit of a leg up on getting started on the work. Confident that she has enough information to begin the work, Andrea clicks the repository link Rovo found for her and lands in Bitbucket Cloud, ready to code. For the purposes of this journey, I'll skip the coding part, as it is being covered in other sessions and in the spirit of time, but suffice to say that Andrea uses her preferred IDE and AI coding assistant to write some code. When Andrea is ready to take her code for a spin, she sets up a new pipeline to execute the build. Observing her build status and pipelines, Andrea is sad to find that her first build has failed. Undaunted, but still on a tight schedule, she uses the pipeline troubleshooter to quickly understand why her build is failing, which it does by analyzing the logs and comparing it to similar problems. Confident that Rovo Dev, under the covers, can fix her problem, Andrea clicks Fix Step. The fix is made, and the system offers to show her the change. I'll show you what this looks like in another example later, but this is the power of Rovo Dev. After accepting and committing the fix, Andrea runs her pipeline again, and this time it is successful. Confident that her code works, it builds correctly, and her initial tests are passing, Andrea prepares for the code review process by creating a pull request for her work. To save time, Andrea uses the AI pull request description generator to write it for her based on the changes she's made. She then uses the new draft pull request feature to start setting things up for review. After Andrea submits her pull request, the AI-assisted code reviewer automatically generates and checks criteria based on the associated work item. In this case, Andrea's code passes, and she's ready for the next step. Next, Andrea checks to see what comments or suggestions code reviewer has for her related to errors, stylistic issues, and bugs in her code. This will make the review process more efficient for Priya later, who doesn't love the idea of playing the role of human linter. Interesting side note, the rules that code reviewer uses to assess problems can be configured as code by adding rules files to the repository. Lo and behold, code reviewer has found an issue and has offered a suggestion on how to fix it using our new code suggestion feature, which can be used either by an AI, but on behalf of AI or from a human. Happy with the suggestion, Andrea accepts it, updates her code and pull request accordingly, and passes it over to Priya for code review. Enter Priya, our dependable code reviewer who is minding her own business when the request comes in from Andrea to help her conduct the pull request review. After landing in the pull request in Bitbucket Cloud, Priya turns to Rovo Chat once again to help her come up to speed on the change that Andrea is proposing. Remember that Priya is not as familiar with the work as Andrea is, and so having an efficient summary from Rovo is invaluable to giving her a leg up. It's the common sort of citizen reviewer problem. After looking at her code, Priya is satisfied that Andrea's change is a good one and approves her pull request. Now back to Andrea. With Priya's sign-off, it's time for her to get ready to deploy it to production. Andrea clicks the merge button to trigger the pipeline for final tests, security scans, and other operations that her team and her company require before she can deploy. To her surprise, Andrea's build and test step fails, stopping her in her tracks. What is going on? So Andrea clicks the failed test, which takes her to the new test management experience. You guys will not have seen this before, where she can see her test in a list alongside other failing tests. Andrea notices that during this run, the test that failed was automatically marked as flaky because it basically is a questionable test, which technically would be excluded from future runs. But in this case, Andrea decides that she wants to fix it. So she chooses the Fix Flaky Test in the Actions menu, deciding that she'll give Rovo Dev a crack at the fix. Next, Andrea is taken to an auto-generated pipeline created to execute the fix. She stands by while Rovo Dev displays the steps it's taking to get it right. Using the power of Rovo Dev, these steps include things like finding the flaky test, figuring out why it failed, creating a branch, and making and testing the fix. When it is done, it summarizes the implementation and even creates a new pull request for the changes. Andrea navigates to the pull request, is happy with what she sees, and she re-executes the merge. This time it goes off without a hitch, and she's ready to monitor the next step in her pipeline. Now it's time for Andrea to publish her package using the new Docker registry functionality now in beta, just released this week or last week. Next, the publish package step runs, which packages the application as a Docker container and uploads it to the Bitbucket Docker registry. Unlike other packaged registries, this doesn't require additional authentication or product licenses. It's built into Bitbucket. After the public package step is complete, Andrea confirms that the package was published successfully to the registry by following the included link. And now on to deploy. After her changes have been verified and automatically tested in staging, at long last, Andrea clicks the deploy button and is thrilled to see her change successfully deployed. Before leaving the deployment panel, Andrea clicks the Summarize button, which again uses AI, this time to summarize the contents of her deployment. This information is useful for anyone who wants to understand what changed, from the folks who requested the change in the first place, and the change for folks with that crave auditability, which is many people around the enterprise. And now on to the final step. Back in Jira where it all started, Andrea verifies that the deployment was successful by taking a look at the information in the Jira dev panel. Satisfied that all is well, she happily marks her work item done. And with that, Andrea's work here is complete. She's particularly pleased that she was able to work so accurately and efficiently thanks to just the right level of AI assistance. So when will all these features be available? Let's talk about each one. So Rovo Chat in Bitbucket Cloud, where you saw people basically getting a leg up on the Jira work, both code author and reviewer, is available now in beta. This actually just released last week. Pipelines Troubleshooter with the ability to autofix is coming in Q1 2026. Incidentally, the Pipelines Troubleshooter without the autofix is already available in beta today. AI-generated pull request descriptions are available now. AI-assisted code reviews with AKA Code Reviewer is also available now, just released in GA this week. Draft pull requests and code suggestions, which are a couple of features that I showed along the way, are available now. Pipelines test management will be available in Q1 2026. And last but not least, Bitbucket Packages Docker registry is available now. All right, so my part is complete. Raul will now take the wheel and talk about how Atlassian is using Bitbucket Cloud to scale code and CI/CD at Atlassian.
All right. Thanks, Chris. And hello, everyone. My name is Raul. I'm the head of engineering for Bitbucket Pipelines. So I would wait to introduce what I do. I basically build software for software teams, and I have been leading the Bitbucket Pipelines engineering org over the last 8 years at Atlassian. So today, I'm going to share how we scaled code and CI/CD at Atlassian, and how we are unleashing engineering productivity with AI. I'm going to share as well our secret sauce about how we build software internally at Atlassian. But let me start with 2 insights from a recent Atlassian report. On the one side, we see that AI usage has doubled over the past year, and workers say AI is making them 33% more productive. On the other side, though, we see that 96% of the companies have not seen any dramatic improvement in organizational efficiency. So why there is a disconnection here? And what are those 4% companies doing differently? Well, what we found is that they are investing beyond personal productivity. They are investing in setting up the right tools to enable AI across the entire organization, and this is what we did at Atlassian. So back in 2022, we started looking into if we were shipping software as fast as we wanted to, and one of the things we found is that we had long feedback loops in the way we were delivering software to our customers, and we wanted to accelerate the delivery. We also found that we had a very fragmented toolchain. New teams were adopting Bitbucket pipelines and Bitbucket Cloud, whereas other teams were using Bitbucket Data Center and Bamboo. And maintaining a very fragmented toolchain was very expensive, as we had to duplicate all our effort inside the company. So finally, something as basic as understanding engineering bottlenecks was very hard for us to do, leading to poor visibility into the toolchain. So we had to take action, and we decided to standardize into Bitbucket Cloud and pipelines and migrate all engineering teams into it. And for that, we needed 3 things. First, we needed a way to run code and CI/CD at scale. We also needed a way to drive engineering standards and security at scale. And finally, our goal, we need to unlock AI native development by being part of the integrated cloud with Rovo and Teamwork Graph. So let me start with the first one, but let me share some context about Atlassian scale. So today, at Atlassian, we have over 9,000 monthly active users. Most of them are engineers, but we also have users from other departments, such as finance, data science. We have over 9,000 monthly active repositories that are hosted in our multi-petabyte distributed file system in Git. And our engineers merge over 65,000 pull requests. And as you can imagine, that triggers a lot of automation to deliver all that code to our customers. So since May 2024, we are running over 1 billion minutes in automation. And think about automation as running your tests, your deployments, but also other repetitive tasks such as upgrading libraries, security scans, or even accessibility and performance tests, which are very important for us. At Atlassian, we are obsessed about automation because we truly believe that automation enables high velocity. And that's why my teams have been investing very heavily into building the next generation platform to unlock large-scale development. So back in 2022, we were running 4 Kubernetes clusters in production. As you know, Kubernetes is the industry leader for container orchestration, and we have been running that for the last 9 years. But we had to take it to the next level. And today, we are running over 40 Kubernetes clusters. And we truly believe this is just the beginning, as we are expecting an unprecedented scale over the next few years, especially with AI-powered development. And that is why this is an area we are investing heavily to build for that future. But this is all good, but for a 9,000 engineering org, having a scalable platform was not enough. We needed a way to uplift engineering standards for the whole company. And for that, we adopted 3 key features. The first one is policy enforcement with custom merge checks. So custom merge checks is a feature that allows to gate pull requests based on custom rules and business requirements that are defined at a company level. And let me share an example about how we do this at Atlassian. So at Atlassian, our platform teams have implemented several custom merge checks, and one of them is called, for example, non-risk in changes. So basically what it does, it reviews all the code that will be merged, and will assess the risk based on an internal risk database that is managed by the platform teams. And high-risk changes will be blocked and will require additional review and approval. And this is an example on how we are managing and mitigating risk at scale. So the next feature that Atlassian adopted is called CI/CD orchestration with dynamic pipelines. And dynamic pipelines allows to generate and augment CI/CD configuration at runtime for the whole company. And this is extremely powerful because platform teams can standardize and introduce the best practices such as security scans or quality checks across the entire org. And let me share again an example about how we do that at Atlassian. So at Atlassian, our platform teams use dynamic pipelines to actually build a concept that is called managed builds. So managed builds is a way to simplify and standardize CI/CD configuration for the whole company, offering predefined templates that product teams can use. So managed builds reduced 99.7% of CI/CD configuration complexity as we moved from product teams having to manage hundreds and sometimes thousands of lines of CI/CD configuration to just few lines of CI/CD configuration. And finally, extensibility and customization with Forge. So for those who don't know, Forge is the Atlassian platform for extending products. And Forge has been a game changer at Atlassian as platform teams were able to actually create whole new experiences in top of Bitbucket Cloud. So for example, our deployment orchestration today is an integration that we have made internally with Spinnaker, which is one of the deployment orchestration tools. But we also managed to deliver new experiences that were very, very easy. So for example, this is an example of what a developer inside Atlassian built just in a few days. It is a Forge app that is integrated in the code review experience, and it shows real-time who is viewing your pull request so that the authors know if the pull request is being reviewed. And that was built as an extension in just a few days. So let's talk about the results. So we managed to increase reliability by 40%, not only by providing a more scalable and reliable platform in cloud, but also because we were able to offer zero downtime upgrades. That was a pain point when we were managing our own shared infrastructure. We also measured a 60% reduction on PR cycle time, introducing multiple code review experiences and AI-assisted code review. And finally, teams were able to reduce costs by up to 45%. For example, internal teams such as Jira, they implemented a way on top of dynamic pipelines to do selective test execution, only running the tests that were related to the code that was changing. And we also internally managed to save millions of dollars by reducing the total cost of ownership by reallocating teams that were managing infrastructure to deliver customer value, which is what we wanted. And all of that made our internal developer satisfaction increase from 68% to 90%. And today, we are here in the journey. Chris has already shared our vision and the exciting AI features we are bringing to our customers, including Atlassian. And now, I would like to share more about the future of CI/CD with Bitbucket pipelines and AI. But now, let me connect the dots and let's recap everything that we have shared so far. So during the code review experience, we showed how you can use AI to actually speed up the code review process and the code authoring process. We showed how you can use the pipeline's AI troubleshooter, not only to troubleshoot your failed builds, but also to fix them with AI. We are also introducing a new test management experience that allows developers to identify flaky tests and also to fix them with AI. We are also introducing a new Bitbucket packages experience that allows developers to host their private Docker images without requiring any third-party tool. And finally, we showed how developers and release managers can use Deployment Summarizer to summarize and review the changes before hitting production. And we could end the presentation here. We are super excited about the value that we are bringing. But I want to share one more thing. Our vision is to unleash and scale developer productivity with AI. And I'm sure most of you have way more ideas of things we could automate with AI. So imagine a world where you could define your own CI/CD automations only limited by your imagination. So, well, we are excited to introduce Agentic CI/CD. Agentic CI/CD is a new concept that brings unlimited automation with AI into Bitbucket Cloud. And let's look into it. We are bringing 3 new features. The first one, we are adding new triggers to Bitbucket pipelines to unlock unlimited automation. So today, in pipelines, you can run workflows on code being pushed, scheduled, pull requests being created, or even manually. But what if you could run workflows and automation on other triggers, such as package being published, deployment being completed, or even flaky tests being detected? Well, we are making it possible now and introducing more triggers to unlock unlimited automation. Next, we are bringing agentic steps to unlock more powerful automation. So today, in pipelines, you can run automation based on scripts and code. And scripts are good for very deterministic tasks, but sometimes they are not very smart. And sometimes they require a lot of effort to define powerful workflows. So what is the best way to define powerful and smart workflows? Well, the answer is simple, using natural language. So imagine if you could define this workflow with your own words. Every time a pull request is updated or created, I want AI to summarize and gather all the information from the pull request, including the comments, including AI-generated comments, pull request description, fail build logs, and even checks and code insights. And imagine if you could tell AI, give me the actions that I have to do as an author to actually get the code review merged as soon as possible, without gathering context over and over as the author. Well, for that, we are introducing agentic steps. Agentic steps are similar to regular steps, but instead of running code and scripts, they run AI instructions defined in natural language. Internally, we use an MCP server that performs actions such as reading the logs, creating pull requests, creating comments, and many more. And this is really powerful, but we have made it extremely simple to use. It uses the same Bitbucket pipelines YAML, which has version control in Git, and also it allows to combine both agentic steps and regular steps. So you can use regular steps when you want to define deterministic tasks, and you can use agentic steps when you want to run powerful workflows. So finally, this is all powered by RoboDev in pipelines. Internally, we are using RoboDev CLI, which is the state-of-the-art code agent to automate coding tasks. And you could use RoboDev CLI as part of your inner loop in local, and now we are bringing it to the outer loop in Bitbucket pipelines to automate your CI/CD workflows. And let me show you again what an agentic step is. In this case, we are showing how RoboDev can fix a flaky test using an agentic step. So prior to this, the AI instructions were configured to execute when a flaky test was detected. And now you can see how pipelines is executing the agentic steps, and it's showing how the AI model is reasoning and autonomously fixing the flaky test. And finally, as instructed, it creates a summary with the solution and a pull request with the fix, as it was specified in the instructions. So in this case, for example, it was using the time function without properly mocking, and then AI actually fixed it with a proper mock. And as you can see, this has so much potential. And finally, I would like to share some of the workflows that my teams are already automating with this as we bring this feature to all of you. So we are automating things like creating release notes every time a package is being published, detecting feature flags in the code that is being generated, increasing test coverage on a weekly basis autonomously, or even updating the READMEs and keeping the READMEs up to date and the internal documentation up to date on a weekly basis as well. But I'm sure you'll have more ideas of things we could automate, as this is only limited by your imagination. So hope you are all as excited as we are about bringing this to you. So I'm happy to share that we will make this available next quarter, Q1 2026. And that is the end of the session. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you enjoyed the session.